Alright, we're back for round 2. I won the die roll, and I will play first. So as happened last, so I was able to get back in the beta. What happened last round is the beta started going very slow and unresponsive. I've noticed several times while using the beta that if you leave the client running for too long, if you aren't logging off and resetting it in some senses, it just starts to slow down really badly to the point where you could easily start losing a lot of time on in events, and that's obviously less than ideal. So at that point, I generally try and restart it. If it gets real bad, I'll restart it in the game. I try and restart during sideboards if I can, just because I rarely take up the full sideboard time. Obviously, in something like Momir, where there is no sideboard, I don't take up any of it. But that's a chance to restart this. It's refreshed again. Alright, I mean, so that's pretty worthless. At least he's bigger than his creature, so he won't be able to attack. Tap effects can be quite powerful. This one's quite expensive, though, especially at 2 mana. It's just unlikely to happen. Alright, so here he'll probably attack with this guy and get in for 2 damage. I'm not going to block with, I'm not going to double block and let him kill my flyer. Because now I'll be able to attack him with the flyer. That's a pretty bad 4-drop. I mean, like I said previously, you'll probably never get the other activations. It's strange here that he wouldn't actually attack with that, because at worst for him, he trades with my flyer, which is probably the most desirable situation. Because a flying 2/2 is a lot more valuable than a first strike 2/2 that's on the ground. I just drew another large flyer, so I think I'm doing quite alright already in this game, which is quite good. I mean, it's very common in Momir that what it comes down to is whoever draws the flyers, as they're the most common evasion creature. There's obviously others, and those definitely help, but flyers is the one you'll see most often. So that's really good for him. I mean, it lets him get ahead. He can get up to 9s. Given the board state at the moment, I don't think I'm going to skip a drop. If I skip anything, I'll probably skip 7, just because at this point, if I attack, he'll be able to come back with his 4/5. So we'll see what I get here. Now, see, this is something that's very powerful. In this case, it'll become an 8/8, and I'll make him discard 2 cards. So I do think I'm actually going to sacrifice the flyer, and the smaller flyer. I'll keep the 3/5 flyer, as that'll do quite a bit of damage to him over time. So then not only does this counteract his the card he drew here, it also puts him now further down, even another card at that point. I definitely attack with my flyer, because I mean, if he attacks with everything, he gets in for 5 damage if he pays the 2 for that. And that just, it does not seem like he was going to do that. But if he does, I'm perfectly fine with it. I mean, because at that point I'll be able to attack back with my 8/8, so yeah. I could see him paying here and then actually just triple blocking just to kill this. So if he pays, I actually probably won't attack next turn because he'll triple block, and that'll be what he'll have to help to keep paying for that, which will put him even further behind. So there he can double block and kill it, which we'll see what I draw. I may or may not attack. Because, I mean, he would almost definitely double block, and I do get to take out 2 of his creatures, but I am down on creatures at the moment. And having my 8/8 there stops him from attacking almost entirely. This is something, however, that I will probably attack with. That means I might actually attack with all 3. He'll have to double block this with the Kinder Catch and one of his 2/2s to kill this, or he can double block and kill that, which means I'm killing his last or killing one of the other creatures with this, or getting through for 6 damage. Either way, it really sets his board up poorly, and it puts me very far ahead. He can't just let the damage through at this point, because he'll be so close to it at that point that he couldn't do it. Oh, and I actually screwed up really badly here. I totally forgot that had first strike, and so I just traded those 2. That was a really bad play on my part. And it goes into what I said about how you have to keep an eye on the board. I forgot that had first strike. So here is my opponent playing a 7, which means he's probably going to stay on 7s at that point. That, however, is obviously a very good 7. It means I'm going to have 2 creatures to attack with to be able to get through, which isn't that difficult of a thing to have happen. But for now, it's less than ideal. So a really nice thing about the Bloodfire Colossus here is the ability just to completely close out a game because it deals 6 damage to each player. It can also mean that you can draw a game that you were inevitably going to lose. So it's a very handy card to have. So I mean, he can attack if he wants to. He can't activate any of its abilities. And so if he attacks, I'll just let the damage through. There's no reason I wouldn't. What I really need here is another flyer, as I'll then be able to get through in the air, and I just need to push him down to 6. And there's a flyer for you right there. That'll help me push him down. So there we go. And it also has protection from white and blue, so this cannot do that. So effectively, he'll be dead next turn unless he plays something that can block this, or he somehow gets rid of one of these creatures. Yeah, so at this point I've won the game. There's nothing he can do that will let him win. And here I'm going to play the Mountain just because it gives me an extra little bit of damage. And so here we go. I'm not really sure what just happened there. Apparently my stop on my block my blocks got turned off. And I'm very confused how that happened. So unfortunately I ended up giving him an extra turn. However, he played his land, which was very unwise. I mean, he can untap this, but it still only will put this down to a 1/1, which is enough to get through for the damage he needed to do. So I'm not concerned. And if he, I mean, if he attacks me with everything, I chump block where I need to. And with just that, I mean, he can turn around and hit me in the face for 10 total, but that still puts me out of range of the Bloodfire Cyclops, and so I'll be perfectly fine. I'm not really sure what happened with my block there. I must have clicked it off at some point. I didn't even realize it. That's definitely supposed to be there. I like having stops on almost every single step of the combat. Oh, so I didn't realize that he could actually use his mana that way. I didn't even think about that. I should have blocked. And this is just where you can screw things up on your own. I think at this point I just need to probably activate the Cyclops. Well, I'll attack with the Cyclops. Try and get him to block with his 8/8. Since the Cyclops won't kill that. Yeah, I mean, with that 2-card combo hit up there, I pretty much had to use that Cyclops. I really messed up in that process. Like I said, I have no idea how my declare blockers got turned, or stop got turned off. So this is an interesting card. It's one of the ones that gives you an argument for making sure you put down all your creatures, because now even if he blocks with the 8/8, I can just exile it. So we'll see what he draws here. He may have no choice but to double block, which is fine with me. Unfortunately, he gained 3 life, so I really messed up by having that not set properly. So here he has pretty much no option except to double block, which is fine, because then I can trade off. Here you might be trying to debate if he actually has to. I mean, I think effectively he had to, as I'll just continue to play creatures and remove one of his every turn if he doesn't. He obviously wanted to gain the life, and he gains 6 more life by not double blocking there. Alright, and there's enough for me to be able to win, hopefully. We'll see if he draws a flyer. That's what he'll need at this point to not be in a really rough position. So here, I mean, he can block the Sisters of Stone Death with this guy. That's actually an interesting choice on his part. He's now going to be required to block there if he wants to live. But that means I have to draw something that I can block with, which, I mean, basically means I just can't whiff completely. Right now, actually, now that I realize it, he's getting exactly enough to offset the Hellkite. Unfortunately, that's game, so I threw this game away by not having my stop set properly. Which I don't think I ever changed that, so I'll probably be submitting a report on that one. We'll pause here while we wait to the next one. Alright, we're back in, obviously. Alright, that's not bad. I mean, hopefully I can just easily block that. Him getting a bunch of life is less than ideal. Yeah, I mean, I would never activate that ability, so if he attacks, I just trade. It's an interesting card to choose whether or not you'd actually want to do that. If it didn't return itself every time you did it, it might actually be worthwhile to do that because you can kill every single one your opponent plays. Alright, well I got a Hill Giant. Very unexciting, but we'll see what he gets. I mean, it was better than his 3-drop, but he could get a really good 4-drop. Let's find out. So I should be very aware that when that dies, I can't let it take 4 damage. I have to kill it with exactly 3, which is really obnoxious. That's a very interesting card just because even if he blocks with this, I trample over. So I definitely attack here. I mean, if he wants to hit me for 3, I'll be able to attack with the lifelink on the next turn anyway. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pause. My opponent seems to have taken a little while to decide what to do here. Alright, so I get Vigor, which is just insane. Especially since I have this Trample Lifelinker. It basically means he effectively can never block this card, because if he does, it just gets huge. So, despite my giant mistake last turn, I'm lucky that I'm drawing fairly decently this time. Alright, my opponent's going pretty slow, so I'm going to go ahead and pause again. Alright, and he declares no blocks, which is not surprising. As with Vigor out, blocking for him is just a terrible, terrible idea. It also means I'll probably never ever attack with Vigor unless he has no way of killing it. So Horsemanship, obvious. Oh, so that's actually really powerful. If he attacks here, however, I can just swing him with Vigor, and with my Lifelinker, I'm already poised quite well to be doing stay ahead in the race. Interesting enough, I don't think I've ever seen this card before. So that's really good as it flies. So in combination with Vigor, it'll just be very strong. So I'm quite happy to see something like that. Here he might block my Hill Giant just not to take the 3 damage. It does turn my Hill Giant into a 7/7. That's very bizarre for him to do that, if he decides to actually block there, as it just turns my Lifelinker into an 8/8. And it gets rid of his Horsemanship. Oh, and he's decided to concede at that point. In his position, I wouldn't have conceded. It is Momir, so sometimes you can just get really lucky, and you can pull something that will just completely change the game again. I mean, that's why I played it out the last time, just to see what would happen. I mean, there's no point ever in conceding in Momir until you are dead. And like my opponent could have conceded when he was dead to a Necroma Pump and the Bloodshot, but as you can see, my computer messed that one up. So it's interesting that he conceded that time, but the first game he didn't concede when he was also dead. And that one who was actually dead on board had my block spin or stop spin set properly. Whereas that time he wasn't dead; he was just in a very difficult position. Alright, obviously that's completely worthless. I mean, I guess if he drew some kind of insane artifact, I could, in theory, kill it, but it seems highly unlikely I would ever choose to do that. And here he's just hit me for 4. I'm just going to chump block it. I don't necessarily want a 1/1, and in my opinion, at that point, it's just better just to chump block it. I'm never going to use the 1/1, and it's going to get in for 1 damage as opposed to taking 4, so. Alright, here, I mean, it's just, if I happen to get more allies, I can have maybe a mildly unblockable creature. Right now, it just stops his 2/2 from attacking. Alright, and that obviously just means I just don't play a forest. Island walks the land walk you'll see the most, which is the reason, if you notice, I try and play my islands last. Just because island walk's the most common one. There's a lot of things that you can't attack unless you control an island. On the flip side, however, it does mean if you don't control an island, there are some creatures you have to sacrifice. Alright, and that's a very good card. I imagine if I attack with it next turn, my opponent will just double block. Which means I probably won't attack just because he would then, I would just be trading for his 2/2, which isn't that good. That's a very interesting card, and that it puts a clock on both of us. Unfortunately, it puts a clock on me first. Also gives him a large creature. So we'll see what we get. Here, there's nothing really valuable. I'm not gonna attack, as it would just trade with his 2/2, or you or he just kill it. So there's no point in me doing that. And here, if he attacks, I'm just going to double block with this 4/4 I just picked up and the 2/3. Not sure why he didn't play anything at that point. I don't think he even played a land. Yeah, I pulled up my chat. My opponent didn't play a land. I don't know if he just thought it was still my turn, F6 through it, or what happened there. I mean, that's definitely what it looks like happened. But I will take that advantage. It's also possible my opponent has just, he joined the Legacy game that came out, or the Legacy tournament that started. Provoke does make things interesting because I can now force him to block a very specific way, which means he has less ability to kill my hero, and I can get through for more damage. I think this game may come down just to a very effective Alpha Strike at some point. And that's a very unfortunate draw for me. He can swing in for 5 damage in the air next turn, which is just brutal. We'll see if he does, as doing that does put him in a lot rougher position. I mean, here he almost definitely attacks with that. There's very little reason for him not to. And so if I don't draw a flyer, it puts me in a really bad position. Interestingly, I actually probably shouldn't have drawn a card there because I now have to discard. I mean, not that it matters, but it's not very often that happens in Momir. And then I draw something like that, and then it's just absolutely terrible. So I'd be really appreciative if my opponent breaks it as hard as I have in these last 2 here. So effectively here I need a flyer that gains life, so I need a lifelink flyer, otherwise I've pretty much effectively lost the game. He attacks in the air. I have 2 turns to come out of it. I'm trying to think which I don't think I actually want to do a 9 here. I think 9s have less chance of getting me exactly what I need, which is one of the flyers that also gains life. So I want to do an 8 here. And that was, I mean, unfortunately, I have this guy out. So I still lose the game. If I didn't have that guy out, I would probably be winning the game right now, which is really unfortunate. Because it all comes down to the Magic Online stopping my block phase earlier. So I'm just going to go and concede. There's nothing I can do to win this one, and he's going to win next turn. Alright, we'll see you in round 3.